The problem comes inside the center of the field, those 15 to 20-yard routes. The Eagles generally don't even try them because they're not confident in the ability to hit them. And obviously, when you throw the ball in the middle of the field, there's some opportunities for bad things to happen. That's when, look, if you're not really, really accurate, you're going to get tip balls. It's going to pop up. You're going to get turnovers. That's how that kind of things happen. So at least early in the season, I don't think they're very confident in those types of plays.
All right, it's a Monday, a first for the Birds 365 guys. We haven't come on a Monday after a loss, but you didn't think we were going 20-0, did you? It is Monday here on Birds 365. You got the Mac guys. That would be me, Jody McDonald. That would be him, John McMullen. J-Mac, long day at the ballpark yesterday?
Yeah, it was a long day. Started with a little bit of traffic. Forgot that part of it. The one part of the pandemic here I enjoyed was just scooting down to the stadium, no problems whatsoever. So that was a rookie mistake, and I bring that up because we saw some rookie mistakes as well from the rookie head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. So. But you knew it was going to happen. You knew there were going to be hiccups, and that's just part of the process. You hope you grow from it. You learn. You don't make the same mistakes twice. And Nick Sirianni, we'll start with the, what do you want to call it? Because it wasn't special. I don't know what you want to call that play call, but it was a bad decision at a bad time. And it's rare, Jody. We always talk about turning points of NFL games, and you can point to certain plays and big plays. But there are other aspects. This was glaring. Before that play, the Eagles were dominating the football game. They weren't cashing in on opportunities, so that part was disappointing. But they were dominating the football game. After that play, the air got sucked out of the team, and they were completely dominated the rest of the way. It was the clear demarcation line of the game.
I will stretch it a little further. That entire series, 1st and goal from the 1. They didn't get it on 1st down. They didn't get it on 2nd down. They didn't get it on 3rd. So it was building up. Yes, the Eagles had dominated up until they had 1st and goal from the 1. Then 3 unsuccessful tries. Then the major exclamation point at the end with the farcical Greg Ward trying to throw the ball to his only wide receiver who's available, who's his quarterback.
He's not a wide receiver, who ran the worst route in mankind. So it wasn't Greg Ward's fault. There was nothing you could do. There was no other option. The offensive line was like, what the hell do we do? We can't go downfield. Jalen Hurts looked like he was trying to fool somebody. Nobody was fooled. It was bad. Bad execution, bad play design, bad play call, bad spot. I always say this before we got on the air. I was telling you, Jody, I don't understand these coaches. When it works, and it worked in the biggest stage here in Philadelphia, so everybody loves it. But even when it works, I don't understand it. You have the big situation where you want to score, you want to turn the game, and you turn to a trick play, which you don't practice, you don't execute, you don't do it in your sleep. The old, watch an old basketball movie. What are they? We're going to run these plays until you know them in your sleep. That's what they do in football too. And then we get to the big part of the game where you need something. Let's try this trick. Let's try this thing we never use. I don't get it.
Yeah, nor do I. Here's where I will, and you know how big a Greg Ward fan I am. I will at least give him a small little percentage of the blame. Throwing the ball away? What?
What are you going to do at that point?
Here's what you're going to do. Pull it down and try and run. It's better than throwing it 8 feet over the only wide receiver. And he's not a wide receiver. I know, I get that. Over his head. What does that do? Greg, pull it down. Fight your way into the end zone. Even though I think you got about a 2% chance of scoring.
I would go less than that.
2 is better than 0.
Boy, I'm surprised. I can't even get to Greg Ward on that play. I got no issues with Greg Ward.
He's my guy, and he Had a chance, and he didn't even take the 2%. But I said this to you before the show started. And believe me, folks, we're going to cover the entire game today. There's a lot to unpack from yesterday's 17-11 loss. But McMahon is right on when he says that was the key turning point of the game. More so than the nerviness of calling it. More so of giving up on what you do day in, day out, practice in, practice out. The thing that annoyed me the most, believe it or not, J-Mac, is, and I've never seen that play before. Everybody wanted to try and compare it to the Philly special, but it wasn't like the Philly special. It was different.
It's just similar, similar end game in the fact that you had, a receiver. In this case, it was Greg Ward instead of Trey Burton throwing it back to the quarterback. But yeah, it wasn't the exact same play.
It's a somewhat different, pretty different play. There are some similarities. Here's what bothers the heck out of me. And if I had the time, I would have gone back and checked. I'm sure I have it on tape somewhere in my saved tape library, the Super Bowl from a couple of years ago. It's way the hell down on my list, but it's still sitting in there in my TV. I can guarantee you that because I watched it, I don't know, less than a year ago. I put it on again and watched. On that play, I thought there was at least one other option, that Nick Foles wasn't the only passing option on that play. In yesterday's play, the only guy you could even see on the TV screen, and you were there, maybe you can tell me, Jody, you missed this.
No,
there was no other option. It was either throw the ball to Jalen Hurts, or you had no chance, no shot whatsoever. There's got to be at least somebody leaking back who's an eligible receiver who at least you can try and force the ball to. I didn't see that on my TV screen yesterday. Did I miss it?
No, you didn't miss it. Nobody else was there. Nobody else was on the side of the field because the play is designed to trick the other team. That's literally it. And so was the Philly special, to be fair. And it did, by the way. The Philly special did. It was designed to trick the other team. Once they're not tricked, the play's over. It's over. There's nothing you can do unless you have and all due deference. And again, I'm not going to criticize Greg Ward because I don't think that was remotely even 1% of his problem. But the only guy who's going to make a potential play out of that is a Lamar Jackson type, or if you want to go back to Michael Vick, Randall Cunningham, this extraordinary athlete that's going to stand on his head and make three guys miss and things like that. Greg Ward's not that guy. It's not his fault. He was put in that situation. There was nothing he could do. Once the trick aspect is done, it's blown up, and they knew what was coming from the start. Play's over. It's over. And that's, I called it pandering. I know a lot of other people called it pandering. I think it was pandering. I think he was trying to ignite 70,000 people and trying to sort of steal the hearts out of the San Francisco 49ers, and it probably would have if it worked. But, don't worry about it. Worry about what's good for your football team. Don't worry about exciting the crowd. That shouldn't be an issue. The old Buddy Ryan saying, if you listen to the fans, you're going to be sitting with the fans. Well, he wasn't listening to the fans, but he was pandering to the fans. And it's not quite as bad, but it's up there. And I think he'll learn from it. And you got to do what's best for your football team in a particular situation. Nick Sirianni didn't do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to give Buddy Ryan credit for that phrase. I think it was the manager.
Well, in this town. Yeah, it was around.
In this town, it might have been. Yeah, it had been used many years before.
But in this town,
Buddy was an exciting guy and an emotional guy. He wasn't coining phrases. That wasn't Buddy Ryan's strength as a football individual. And it's an overreaction Monday, and we know we're going to get this. And when I say overreaction, I'm talking about Eagle Nation. That includes members of the media, fans, anybody who's in the Eagles' corner and rooting for the Eagles and probably overanalyzing the Eagles with every single snap. Nick Sirianni went from a genius play caller who put up 30-some-odd points in week one last week when the Eagles scored 30 points exactly 0 times under Doug Peterson last year in 16 games, to the village idiot yesterday with the inability to score. Oh, by the way, touchdown late. I guess you can't really call, oh, by the way, because if they had gotten a defensive stop, they could have come back and stolen victory from the jaws of defeat. They, of course, didn't. G sneaks for first down, and they end up losing
By the way,
17
he
to
stinks
11.
live too, Jody. Jimmy G is awful. You got to get Trey Lance up to speed. But go on.
Yeah, I wouldn't. He's not awful. He is what he is. He's a game manager. Did he manage the game to a win yesterday?
He did. I think
Okay.
Nick Sirianni.
Then I
managed
can't
it.
use the word awful.
I think Nick Sirianni managed it to a win. No, but I'm overstating. He's won a lot of football games. But the 49ers are right to take the quarterback. They took the quarterback that high. I don't know if they're going to develop Trey Lance, but they got to get to that quickly if they want to reach their ceiling, because I think they have a chance to be a really good football team, but not with. It's very similar to Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick, but I would argue, and Alex Smith was a good game man, won a ton of games in this league, but there was just a ceiling there. There's a ceiling there with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Nick Sirianni managed the game to a win for the 49ers, though. But, and Jalen Hurts didn't make mistakes either, but we're going to get to him as well. I mean, there are some we've been talking about these potential issues. When the Eagles get behind, and Nick admitted this after the game, they want to play from the lead. Now, everybody wants to play from the lead. That's obvious. It's easier to play from the lead. But the Eagles almost need to play from the lead. There's a difference because they can't just, drop back and throw the football. I mean, the second half numbers passing the football were just ugly. And right when they got behind, that's the difference.
You said this last week, so and I think there's more evidence to point to that fact. You were talking about it last week in a almost protected fashion, that they scheme up Jalen Hurts to have success, that they didn't have that many plays where he attempted to push the ball down the field. We did that more so yesterday, some of it by necessity because they were behind on the scoreboard, but some of it not. Some of it they let him touch down. Certainly the pass to Watkins was very good. How you get a 91-yard completion in a drive and come away with 0 points is another area we have to get into. But Jalen threw a couple of deep balls well, and a couple of deep balls without much on them, and or up for grabs, and or not exactly hitting a guy in stride. Is that something that, in your eyes, they have to expand immediately, that they've got to give Jalen Hurts more of a chance to make some plays? And when I say down the field, it doesn't have to be 45, 50 yards in the air all the time. I'm talking about 15 to 20 yards in the air.
Yeah, well, I think that's the problem, the 15 to 20 range. I think he's actually pretty good throwing the football outside the numbers down the field. He sort of has a natural ability to drop it in the bucket. The problem comes inside the center of the field, those 15 to 20-yard routes. The Eagles generally don't even try them because they're not confident in the ability to hit them. And obviously, when you throw the ball in the middle of the field, there's some opportunities for bad things to happen. That's when, look, if you're not really, really accurate, you're going to get tip balls. It's going to pop up. You're going to get turnovers. That's how that kind of things happen. So at least early in the season, I don't think they're very confident in those types of plays. And that's why you see the scheme the way the scheme is. Week 1, it was a lot of stuff near the line of scrimmage, bubble screen. You saw a couple bubble screens yesterday. He can throw the football outside the numbers pretty well. A couple underthrown balls deep down the field, even inside, which isn't as dangerous as obviously those intermediate routes. I think Jalen Reagor did him no favors. That should have been a touchdown. I know Nick Sirianni was on their flagship radio station this morning. He has to go on. And he mentioned that Jalen got bumped out of bounds. Well, guess what? I mean, come on. Big-time receivers in this league get bumped down the field all the time. They understand where they are on the field. That's got to be a touchdown, and that's strictly on Jalen Reagor. I'm sorry. That was a good throw. The Quez Watkins, obviously, that was a great throw, especially, that was the first play of Landon Dickerson, and obviously we have to get to the injuries, came in the game. He got bulldozed, his first NFL play. He got right put in Jalen Hurts' lap. So that was a heck of a throw to Quez Watkins, and it went 91 yards, and Quez got up to 21 miles an hour, 21 plus, couldn't get in the end zone. They couldn't finish it. but that was a great throw, about 45 yards in the air. But that's what he can do. We got to see that intermediate stuff. 15 to 20 yards, like you were talking about, Jody. We haven't seen that yet.
No,
We haven't seen it yet.
Very-
And when you're behind in the game by 2 scores, that's the kind of throw you need. And I don't know what the number, 38 yards maybe was the number, passing yards in the second half. That's it. That's it.
Right, and that's not going to get it done when you're trying to come from behind. I just want to jump back to Sirianni for a second. After the game, he took the blame, and I give him credit for it. He didn't try and make excuses. He didn't try and say a player came up short on him. He said, "This is on me," and specifically the one play that we've already talked plenty about down by the goal line on 4th down, that he felt that he needed to dial up a better play, call a better play, give them a better chance to score. We've been well indoctrinated in this here in this town, because we had Andy Reid as many years as he did. And Andy Reid, after losses, would basically take all the bullets. I have to do a better job. I have to get them in a better position. I have to give them a better chance. It was Andy Reid's MO that he would protect all his players and take all the bullets after the game. And he knew that he was in a strong enough position. And sure enough, he stayed here over a decade. So he was right that if I take the blame, that means they're not looking at somebody else and it's got to come down on me. What are they going to do? Fire me? The answer is no. What do you think of Nick Sirianni and how he handled? Because we've seen Nick now, opening press conference, an entire preseason, a little bit of a rah-rah kind of guy, great after week 1 when they look great and everybody is talking about 11 or 12 wins now, please. This was the first time we got a chance to see Nick Sirianni after a defeat with some things to answer for and some questions to be dealt with. How do you think he handled it after the fact?
Yeah, I think he handled it fine. You have to do what he's smart enough to understand. You have to protect the players. You have to take the blame. And he was kind of easy because a big part of the blame was on him. But like this morning, he already talked about Jalen Reagor was defending him. Look, again, that was on Jalen Reagor. It wasn't about getting bumped out of bounds or anything of that nature. That's life in the NFL. That's going to happen to you. So he's going to be that. I will say, and you see this, you mentioned week 1, you're a genius, Jody. Everybody's lauding you. Week 2, you're the village idiot. Well, guess what? This is a guy who went, this is a town where the guy finally got them a Super Bowl and he's unemployed 3 years later and turned into the village idiot. So yeah, things change quickly. Be ready for it. And the slogans, the t-shirts, rent is due from Jalen Hurts, not going to cut it after a loss. Not going to cut it after a loss in the second half when you throw for 38 yards. So that kind of stuff maybe needs to be adjusted to a little bit more substance because, again, you don't have to look back very far. Fans in this town are not going to accept rent is due, a cute little T-shirt on Overreaction Monday. It's not gonna placate them.
Let me follow up with one more, and then we're going to go to our first guest up here. Marcus Hayes, Daily News, going to hop aboard with us from the T-shirt section of today's conversation. First Nick Sirianni, then at least the order in which they were shown yesterday, then Jalen Hurts came up, and they both used the same analogy of it's a long boxing match. Round 1 to the Eagles.
Round 2.
Round 2 to the 49ers. And round 3 will be here before you know it. Monday night against the Dallas Cowboys. It just kind of perked my interest that they both used the same analogy after the game. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I get you don't want at this stage of Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts relationships 2 full games in. You wouldn't want them at opposite ends of the spectrum. But the fact that they're using the exact same analogy after the game, is that a bit much for you?
No, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, Nick has been using that analogy round 1, round 2 to all the players. So it tells you they're listening, at least at this point. They should be. He's in the second game as an NFL head coach. So if your shelf life can't get past 2 games, you got a big problem. That's what he says. Round 1, round 2, blah, blah, blah. What if you get knocked out, though? I never understood that part of it. And maybe that's the injuries and significant injuries. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with that. I had more of a problem with what went on the field. I never have a problem. Look, Nick Sirianni defended Jalen Reagor. It's Jalen Reagor's fault. I don't have a problem with that kind of stuff because that's what you have to do as a coach. But when you are the coach and the messaging and things like that, you got to do what's best for your football team. You can't pander to fans. You can't try to placate fans. You can't try to placate players. You got to play the bad guy, the bad cop, as Howie Roseman would say occasionally.
And he played the good cop for his players yesterday by taking all the blame, did Nick Sirianni. All right. He is John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We are Birds 365. First time after a loss. We got to learn to deal with this, folks. We'll get some help, though, to do just that. Marcus Hayes, Daily News, Eagles columnist and writer, will join us next here on Birds 365.